Hello everyone, happy Monday. Here I am with your Monday moves. I'm sticking with the theme that I started last week of moving your body through all ranges of motion. So I'm going to show you some things you can do to get yourself through every range of stretch for your body and your spine to move. Makes it healthy, increases the lubrication, keeps you able to move, right? So, hi Teresa. Oh, I'm so happy to see you here. Anyway, so I'm gonna stick with this theme of getting your body to move through every range of motion. No props today, other than I do have something that I rest my head on. You don't have to, you can always use your arm. We're gonna get started and, oh shoot, there was some things I was gonna say and I can't remember. Maybe I'll say them during my, my exercises. So we're going to get started and I'm going to be on the floor the most time. I'm going to be on my back and hopefully I'll come up with those things I wanted to say while I'm talking. All right, here we go. All right, I have a nice pillow that I like to use when I lie on my back to start, right? Oh, I think I was going to say this series of moves is very similar to what I do for warm-up with any of my mat classes. And I always have a free essential level mat class on Thursdays at 3:15 Pacific Standard Time. All right, so we're just going to start here and we're actually going to find a comfortable position to be lying down. Like I said, I like to add a pillow because it helps with my head and neck alignment. Some people might be more comfortable with their legs straight. That's fine, just be careful that you're not pulling your pelvis forward, arching your back. So I prefer to have my knees bent. It puts me in a better neutral position with my pelvis. And we're going to start out with just breath. So you do want to be comfortable here. So, of course, like always, I'm going to try to do the breathing as I talk, but it's kind of difficult. So if you don't actually see me breathing, that is why. Okay, so when you inhale, all right, let's just talk about that. Let's encourage inhalation through the nose and also think expansion in your diaphragm in your rib cage area. Okay, if you can, as you inhale, think about that expansion of the diaphragm rib cage going east and west, sideways or back. That would be more efficient. You would fill more of that area of your lungs and your diaphragm that doesn't get used as much. But I just want you to breathe for relaxation, right? If this is all you did was lie here and breathe, so if you inhale, thinking of expansion, and then as you exhale through your mouth, and thought of a little bit of contraction in your abdominal area. If that's all you did, that'd be great for taking breaks in your day to release tension and set new intentions. I'm gonna take a couple more breaths. Inhale, and you're thinking sideways, east and west. And then exhale, just think gentle contraction of your abdominal area. If you're aware of your pelvic floor, then maybe engage that. It's one of your core muscles. And then again, inhale, filling spaces that feel tense. Mine's usually in my neck and shoulders. And then as you exhale, just a gentle feeling of contraction. And you might want to take a few more breaths. I'm going to stop there for the sake of time, right? But whatever makes you feel relaxed and gets you to that place. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here, this would be similar to the warm-up in my mat classes, is I'm going to do something called the hip release. Okay, so we always do focus in on working on finding stability in the pelvis. So I'm going to demonstrate the hip release with a good stable pelvis, and then I'm going to show you, I'm only going to do one side, but I'm going to show you what it would look like if you weren't stabilizing your pelvis. I might do both sides, but I'm going to start with my left leg. So hip release is just turning the knee out just a little bit, just enough that I don't move my pelvis, and then just sliding the leg away. And then you just turn that knee like it's facing up towards the ceiling and you pull it back in, right? So I'm trying to get some movement, some lubrication in my hip joint. A lot of people have tight hips without moving my pelvis, right? Of course, I would not want to do this in a form where I'm holding my breath. I'm always encouraging you to use breath and not hold your breath. I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of more less stability in my pelvis, right? So if I was just letting the tightness of my hip pull me into that, my whole pelvic area would move, right? And I'm not actually doing much for my hip joint if I'm not stabilizing my pelvis. What I'm doing is I've just been moving my pelvis around, right? And what I need for hip release is to release the tightness in my pelvis, right? So I'll just do one demonstration with my right leg, moving that pelvis. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. My hip lifts off, right? But if I stabilize my pelvis, then it doesn't, right? It might wobble a little bit. That's just kind of what I'm working on, to release the tightness. Anyway, that's hip release, right? Do it or don't, whatever. If you have tight hips, it's a really good move. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is I'm going to turn on my side. And I'm going to get rid of my pillow. You could use a pillow though, if that works for you. I'm going to add a block, it's a yoga block, because I like that for the alignment of my neck with my spine. All right, so now, again, I'm going to work on some stability in my pelvis, but I also do want you guys to move. So this is a rotation move, and what I'm trying to encourage in this rotation is rotation in my upper spine, my neck, and my head, more than my lower spine, right? And then I'm just gonna rotate back. Now, if your pelvis moved a little bit, right, and you open, that's okay, but then you're not really getting the stretch that you could get through your chest and your pecs if you just limit that and don't try to get your arm to go further, just let it be, right? It just feels good. Use a breath, maybe inhale as you open the arm, and exhale, pull it back. You could play with that. You could circle the arm like this, and circle it back. You know, there's an order that I teach in my classes, but if you just want to do one of these moves that I'm going to show you today, that's fine, right? That's fine too, right? Little rotation, back and forth. Now, I'm only going to do one side for the sake of time, so that's rotation. You would maybe want to turn over and do the other side, always your choice. I'm going to turn back onto my back, and I'm going to do another rotation. So I'm just going to cross my legs over each other, right? Not like this, but like this. And my hands are going to go out wide because I want them out of the way. Now I'm going to work on rotation through more the lower part of my spine, so I'm going to focus on keeping my shoulders still, right? This is going to get that stretch through more of my hip and my obliques, right? And there's different ways to do this. Mostly I just like to encourage keeping the shoulders down, right? You could just go to one side a few times, right? And then go to the other side a few times and do that. I kind of like going side to side. And what this does is you get just to the place of stretch, and then you use your obliques to pull back to center, and it just feels good, you know? This is what I'm trying to do, is give you moves that feel good. Okay, and then of course you want to switch, right? I'm not going to do much on this side because, again, just for the sake of time, I don't want to take up too much of your time demonstrating all these moves, right? And of course you're going to breathe, you're not going to hold your breath. And it just feels nice. Okay, so we got a little rotation, right? Okay, now we're going to go into flexion of the spine. So one of my favorite moves, the hip roll. Okay, so now if you have a low back issue, please be careful with hip roll or any flexion in your spine. Okay, but I'm going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to start by tucking my tail, rolling my hips up. That's all it is. I think it's called a bridge in yoga. A bridge is something different in Pilates, but if you're familiar with yoga, right? But I think this is just a bridge, right? Although we kind of, in Pilates, we always just kind of stop and don't go into big extension in the back here, right? We stop at a more neutral place, right? Just trying to encourage the glutes to get working, using the abs for movement. If that's just too much, right? You could still encourage a little bit of flexion in your spine by just doing pelvic tilts, right? Just kind of rolling your hips up just a little bit, maybe gently pushing that low back into the mat. I think this is kind of a physical therapy exercise sometimes. Not sure, right? Lots of different options. So that's a little bit of flexion in your spine. Okay, I'm going to turn over onto hands and knees, trying to move through this as quickly as possible. And now I'm going to demonstrate some movement for the shoulders. So I'm going to demonstrate protraction and retraction of the shoulder blades. Okay, so I'm trying to be in a nice neutral position with my spine, and including my head alignment. And protraction is basically just kind of trying to pull those shoulder blades away from each other. Retraction is just letting those shoulder blades sink towards the spine and together. So I would use inhale, protract, exhale, retract. Again, this is another nice move. It can be done, I could do it laying down, I could do it standing, kneeling, whatever. Sometimes on the floor on your back has better tactile cues. I like to do it on the roller with people, the foam roller. All right, so I'm just going to do a few of those, protraction, retraction. And then I'm going to go into a cat stretch, right? So another thing demonstrating flexion of your spine, but adding extension of your spine, okay? So you're going to tuck the tail round through the spine, just a cat stretch, right? Notice the protraction in my scapula, right? And then I'm going to lengthen my spine, starting with my tailbone lifting, and then I'm sort of going to retract my shoulders as I come into that extension. So tucking the tail, I'm going to use those abdominals to articulate the spine, very similar to the hip roll. And even though it doesn't seem like hip rolls have extension, they do, right, at the top range when your hips get lifted. All right, so just a few cat-cows, right? And we haven't done a side bend yet, so here's how I do a little side bend stretch at the beginning. I just push back to a child's pose. Right, if this hurts your knees, you can always sit on that orange ball, that lovely orange ball, right? And now I'm going to walk my hands over to one side. I'm going to go the other side for better demonstration. Right, so if I'm on the left side and then take a few breaths, I'm feeling the stretch. I'm in a little side bend there for my right side. And of course I would go to both sides. Right. Take a few breaths. Breath always helps release. And then for me, I would come up to standing, right? And maybe with my clients, my class, we'd probably start the whole exercise routine, right? We'd be on the floor still. All right, and then, but this is for you to take breaks in your day. You might need to put your hands on your thighs as you roll up to release tension and set new intentions. So you'd want to come up to standing and be done with your break and get back to whatever it is you do. So I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week I am going to do the standing, right? So I don't know if I talked about that already today, but I'm gonna demonstrate going through all ranges of motion in more of a standing warm-up. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you like it. Hope you try it. And I hope you have a great Monday. I will see you all next week. Bye-bye.